Not all breakups with an avoidant are an abrupt discard. There's also the slow fade that avoidants are unfortunately notorious for. Sometimes the slow fade can be even more painful and agonizing than an abrupt discard because this person just slowly fades into oblivion. And every time you ask if everything is okay, they tell you everything's great. They're just really busy with work or something of the sort. But you never get any answers from them, and it's just prolonged anxiety because this person just slowly and steadily pulls further and further and further away. Those kissy face emojis, gone. Those affectionate, loving texts, gone. This person is routinely now canceling and postponing plans with you. And when you are together, they seem more distant. They seem more disconnected. Things just aren't the way they were. And you're hearing from them less and less. And you're wondering what you did wrong. Chances are you're probably blaming yourself. But reality is, something triggered the avoidant's fears. Now, they have a very specific set of fears. Fears of rejection, fears of engulfment, which is losing their independence in a relationship to somebody who's ultimately going to abandon them, and their fear of abandonment. And these fears can be triggered by various different things in the relationship. But one thing that it doesn't matter which fear it is, there's no communication about it. This person just starts to pull back. And they're not telling you what's going on. They're not telling you what triggered them because they're afraid that if they do, it's going to turn into a confrontation. So they just start fading out, fading out, fading out, fading out. And your anxiety level's going up. Now, if you hold a boundary here, chances are the relationship will come to a quick end. But if you don't hold a boundary, your boundary being your limits of what you will and will not tolerate, of what you want and don't want, this slow fade out can last for months or even a couple of years. And it's really, really torturous. And then eventually the slow fade either ends when you've had enough and you end it, or if this person just disappears, ghosts, or ends it altogether. Often the avoidant, when they're doing the slow fade, they're hoping that you pull the trigger, that you end the relationship so they don't have to be the bad guy. So they don't have to self-reflect and take accountability, and they can confirm to themselves their already pre-existing fear of abandonment. See, it was inevitable. This person was going to leave me, even though they really pushed you to that point. This is a person that is emotionally unavailable. They're not able to make those deep connections with their partner. They have walls up a mile wide, and as long as they have those walls up, they're not going to be able to make those deep bonds the way that you feel for them. This is a person that was emotionally neglected in childhood. Their parents or their caretakers didn't give them the love and the nurturing in the way that they needed. Their feelings were routinely rejected. So they developed this very specific set of fears that are largely triggered by healthy relationship behaviors. And on top of that, they fear communication. Because their feelings were rejected as a kid, they learned to associate communicating their feelings with rejection, abandonment. They learned to associate emotional intimacy with abandonment, with losing their independence. So these fears, when they get triggered, cause this person to try to create emotional distance between themselves and their partner. That's how they've learned to keep themselves safe, by creating that distance, because emotional closeness wasn't safe for them as a kid. Now these fears haven't been healed, so they still get triggered in adult relationships. When your avoidant partner, or now ex, slow faded or is slow fading out on you, don't blame yourself. You're not responsible for this person's lack of communication. If you were a kind, loving partner, if you were consistent, emotionally available for them, and they slow faded out on you, don't blame yourself, because the slow fade out is unhealthy behavior, and you are not responsible for somebody else's unhealthy behavior, especially if you're showing up as a healthy partner. It's a very painful experience, but when the avoidant, when they're doing that, when they're doing the slow fade, they're only thinking of themselves. They're only thinking of what they perceive that they want, need, feel, or fear in the moment. They're not considering you. They're not considering the impact this has on you. Because this can be very crushing. It can be very crushing to your own self-esteem if you personalize it. That's why it's so important not to personalize unhealthy behavior, because you didn't cause it. Practice some self-compassion and focus on understanding why this person behaves the way they do. It doesn't mean that you condone it. It doesn't mean that behavior is okay. But when you understand why they're behaving this way and what unhealed traumas and attachment wounds it comes from, you're not blaming yourself. And when you stop blaming yourself, it helps you with the process of detaching, healing, and moving on.